Hi friends, Marley Blonsky here, Executive Director of All Bodies on Bikes and your podcast co-host. I've got some really exciting news for you. Our fall fundraiser for All Bodies on Bikes is officially live and we need your help. We're trying to raise $10,000 to keep growing this incredible community, making cycling accessible to everyone, no matter their size, shape, or experience level. Your support today will help us fund more inclusive events, offer more resources, and spread the message that all bodies truly belong on bikes. And as a special thank you, anyone who donates over $50 will get our custom All Bodies on Bikes X Gooder sunglasses, which are really fun. They're named the hottest thing on two wheels. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on these incredible sunglasses. So head on over to allbodiesonbikes.com to donate, and please share with your friends. Let's ride together and make this movement bigger and better than ever. Welcome to All Bodies on Bikes, the podcast, where all bodies are good bodies, all bikes are good bikes, and all rides are celebrated.
All Bodies on Bikes is a movement to create and foster a radically inclusive bike community. So join your hosts, I'm Ellen.
And I'm Marley.
As we explore the complexities of the biking world. Help us break down barriers and create the world that we want to see.
And don't forget that all bodies really means all bodies, not just larger bodies, but bodies of all sizes,
Ages,
races,
abilities,
genders,
sexualities,
and beyond. Come along for the ride. Hello, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I should tell you we're recording just in case anything funny happens.
The disembodied voice also told me when I joined.
Oh, perfect.
Not yours, an actual disembodied voice.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Yes. How are you?
I am really good. How are you?
You're looking fresh. You're looking smiley.
Thanks. I smell bad.
You could have just said gee thanks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's the neurospicy part of me, just doesn't know how to accept compliments. But thank you. I feel fresh. You look
Good.
fresh too. How are you?
Thank you. I showered.
I have not done that yet.
Me go. I am good. I was telling a friend this morning, I feel like I'm on a precipice of a lot of interesting things. Like I have to talk to you about a lot of this involves all bodies. So
Okay.
fun fact, I've done a lot of planning without you.
Okay.
But yeah, no,
I love that.
good. Some Kansas City stuff too is shaping up. Yes.
Before we get too deep into this, I'm going to tell the audience who we are chatting with today.
Okay,
So today we are thrilled to welcome Ellen Noble to the podcast. Ellen is a former professional bike racer, making her highly anticipated return to elite racing in 2024. That's this year. That's right now, actually. Ellen is best known for her achievements in cyclocross, but she also dabbles in gravity riding, using it as part of her training. Ellen lives in Western Massachusetts with her boyfriend Aiden, her dog Winnie, and their two best friends on a mini farm, complete with 17 chickens. Outside of racing, Ellen manages social media for Bat Conservation International, which if you're not following their social media, you need to. There are some hilarious memes. Ellen, I think I'm going to have some questions about that. And she's currently studying to become a nutritionist. Ellen's accolades include get ready for this, guys. Actually, I need you to pay attention. Her accolades include a silver medal at the World Championships, 4 national championship titles, 2 Pan American championship titles, 2 World Cup podiums, and the honor of being the inaugural U23 World Cup overall winner. In 2019, Ellen was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease, a challenge she has navigated with resilience and grace. Thanks for joining us, Ellen.
How often are you on a call or not let alone a podcast where there's another Ellen who's your same age?
Never. This has literally never happened to me before.
Yeah, no, same. I don't find other Ellens my age, though at one point at work, I was on a team with a Helen and an L.
Oh, okay. So you guys have all 3 of the millennial name pillars represented.
I feel a little left out. Correct me on this. I'm not intimately familiar with Ellen. Is it a kind of an old-fashioned name?
Yeah. Where you will find a lot of 70-plus-year-old Ellens.
Yes. Everyone's like, oh, I had a great aunt named Ellen or something like that is usually the response.
Exactly.
Well, welcome to the show, Ellen Noble.
Can I add one more thing? That you host your own podcast. This one's for you. You are trying to poach Marley to be your own guest.
Yes.
I would love to be on your show.
I would love
to
have you.
What do you talk about on This One's For You?
This one's for you is like conversations of like resilience and comeback and inspiration. And so I try to talk to people who have a story that kind of goes outside the lines of like your typical maybe like high performance bike podcast, which I think are great, but that's not what I do. So I like to talk to people who have maybe been through something or are still going through something that other people may take inspiration from.
Ooh, I'm intrigued and I will go listen. And
Thank
we will
you.
link that for our listeners who are
Thanks.
podcasty people already.
Yes. Love podcasty people.
Yes. So I'm fangirling a little bit.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome. We were going to record this whole behind the scenes thing, but you are just a pro at this and you are ready to go. So we're going to jump right into things if that works for you.
Yeah, it's actually really nice and relaxing to be a guest on someone else's podcast. Putting on the podcast is a lot more stressful.
Yeah, we did just have a meeting about it wasn't stressful at all, but you're right. There is a
Nice.
lot that goes into making a podcast. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's not about this.
Anyway,
Welcome to the
yeah.
show.
Thank you. Thanks
We're
for having
excited to
me.
have you. Yeah. Even though you and I have become friends over the past couple of years. So it's really cool to have you on the show. I remember watching you race cyclocross many years, not that many years ago. I don't know, 5 years ago. How long ago was it?
Could have been 5. Yeah.
Could have been 5 years. Okay.
As recently as 5 years ago, but
Okay.
could be
So,
longer.
well, and I had your bunny hop the patriarchy shirt. So, and you kind of famously retired a couple years ago to work on health issues but you recently came out of retirement. What has it been like to re-enter the sport?
Well, first word that comes to mind is emotional. It's been like a really powerful and emotional process. But my retirement, or sorry, unretirement, has been really interesting because I announced that I was coming out of retirement in January, but that was really like, just so everyone knows, I'm going to start training to race eventually. I think usually people are like, I'm coming out of retirement and I'm in shape. I'm like, I have arrived. I've already arrived where I'm going and I'm going to come out of retirement. I'm going to win a World Cup or whatever. And my process has been very different, but I've always been someone who really like loves to share and benefits from being able to share all parts of my process. So it's been motivating for me to have that information out in the world, even though I'm like, me coming out of retirement means that for this week, I'm riding 90 minutes a day or like an hour a day on the trainer or whatever. So the process has been interesting because it's been long and I'm actually really just getting started. So I announced my unretirement in January and I did my first UCI cyclocross race last weekend. So it's been, I had 9 months of training and I didn't do a lot of racing in that time. And so I really did my first big race last weekend. And it was really hard and the results were like complicated, but it feels really right to be back. And cycling used to mean the world to me. And then everything got really hard and I didn't have the love for the sport anymore. And I worried that maybe one day, maybe I never would love it again. And then giving myself the time to interact with the sport only in the ways that felt right. I suddenly started to miss racing a lot. And that was the best feeling to, okay, no, I really do love this. I just needed a little bit of a break.
I think that's a really important thing to acknowledge it at all is that your life is going to be hard and there are going to be things that need to be reprioritized for a short stint. And if you're starting to feel out of love with something, that's probably a sign that might need to be on the back burner for a little bit.
Yeah, my therapist and I talk about this a lot, that only in rom-coms and in the movies do people feel like 100% pure emotions. So whether that's about your career or your hobby or your partner or whatever, like only in rom-coms are you like, I am purely and unequivocally in love. Usually it's a lot more complicated than that because it's like, I'm fully in love, but also like, I'm the one who does the laundry. And now I'm annoyed with you because your laundry's always inside out, right? So like, there are these other layers that we can't ignore. And that's how the sport of cycling is for me, where I love this sport and it means a lot, but it's also hurt me in a lot of ways. So it wasn't like a pure emotion one way or another. But right now, the top emotion is that I'm really happy to be here.
I wanted to dig in a little bit. You've mentioned that you just had your first race. It didn't go as the way you expected. And I think I'm curious. And I really like what you said about how it's important for you to show the process of coming back. You were not in fighting shape, so to speak, when you came back. And you wanted to show how all of this builds. And I think, to continue your rom-com example, in a rom-com, it would be your Rocky montage, and now you've won the race.
Yes.
And that's not what happened. So what did you take away from the not winning in your first time out?
Yeah, I mean, I want to like just clarify because I didn't get a great result and it's not like I was expecting a great result. I was just a little further off of where I wanted to be than I expected. Not expected, but then like where I would have been happy with. So it's not like I was expecting to win and I was getting pulled. I wanted to make the lead lap and I was a little bit shy of that. So it's not like I went in with these like delusional expectations that I'm suddenly going to win this race after 5 years off and whatever.
I go in delusional to every cyclocross race. So if you did, it wouldn't be out of the norm. I think to race cross, you have to be a little delusional, but point taken. And
You
I
do.
appreciate that.
You do have to be a little delusional because you're like, no, I'm telling myself this is definitely the most fun way that I could spend a weekend. There's nothing else that I would enjoy more than whatever the hell this is. I mean, the joke this weekend was nothing like doing a muddy cross race and still needing an ice sock because those things like should not go together, but it's
Oh
like a
my
steam
gosh.
room. I think Ellen, you asked what my takeaway was from the weekend. Was that where my tangent started?
Yeah.
It reaffirmed that this process was going to be really hard. And that's part of why I'm doing it. It would have been really fun to choose another sport. I thought for a little while after my retirement that I was going to get really into speed skating.
I love
So I was
that.
like, okay, I could just like, get into a different sport. But then I was like, I actually really miss bike racing and I miss the people, right? I have this community of people that I'm like not as involved in as I'd like to be. So let's just get back into bike racing. But I love the challenge. I love that Rocky Balboa overcoming element of this is going to be really fucking hard. So that's a good reason to do it. So really, I guess it wasn't like a revelation, but it was a reconfirmation that this process is going to be as hard, if not harder than I thought. And I was sort of relieved because if I had done really well and I was like fighting for the podium or something, I would have been like, oh, that doesn't really make it feel as not worth it's not quite the right word, but something like that. Like it wouldn't have been as exciting. Okay, no, like just in case we were worried, like I have plenty of work to do to get back to where I want to be.
Yeah,
Cool.
I really appreciate your honesty on that because I think we don't often see that side of it from professional athletes. So thanks for your rawness and your vulnerability and just showing the process. And I know you're also coming off of a recent head injury. How
Yeah.
is all of that going if you're open to talking about it?
Yeah, I'm an open book. Yeah, it's going well now. That was a really hard process. I hit my head on August 16th or 17th and knew pretty much immediately that I had a concussion. And I was like hoping that I was wrong. But my friends were like, no, like just go home and lay low and see how you feel. I know how I'm going to feel. I literally already feel it. This is not good. But, I've had a couple of minor concussions before, but I've never had anything to this extent, which kind of makes sense knowing what I know now about concussions that like they can build in severity and they get easier to get to at a more severe degree. So I've had a couple minor ones. So it kind of makes sense that even a small hit could yield like a bigger concussion or whatever. But I really struggled with the recovery. And so it took me over a month to get back on the bike in a meaningful way. So like for a week, I was like able to ride the trainer without any symptoms, but like I had really bad motion sickness and vertigo. So I wasn't able to ride outside, which was incredibly challenging, especially during late August and early September. It's beautiful. All my friends are doing big rides. We had team camp and I wasn't able to participate. And it also meant that I missed a really key part of my training. Like I had worked really hard over like the 8 months of me training. And then all of a sudden I had to take a month off. And so it was like my fitness felt very like fragile. So it was definitely not the ideal way to start out the season. But I believe that there's a lesson to be learned in every injury, even if we don't see it at the time. And I think that this injury really gave me maybe a healthier perspective on this season. I think that I had set maybe unrealistically or healthily big goals. And so I think that this kind of humbled me in a way that's been really good and given me a little more perspective.
Overly ambitious goals, maybe?
Oh, yeah, in a way
Yeah.
that like if I didn't meet them, I probably wouldn't have handled it as graciously.
Oh,
I think I was setting myself up for a lot of disappointment, and so this has kind of
so
adjusted those expectations.
it wound up being a pretty good recalibration that ultimately benefited your view of what success would be.
Yeah, so like bad preparation,
Mm,
but probably good for me
yeah,
mentally in a weird way in
right.
the long run. Not good for my head.
Not,
but good
I
for
would
my
say, let's be clear.
head.
Concussions are never good.
No.
Please always get your head checked if you think you have a concussion. We are not
hmm
doctors. The end.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize this because I didn't go to the doctor because I was like, I've had a concussion before. I don't know. And then they were like, no, with your symptoms, we actually need to make sure that you don't have a brain bleed. I was like, oh,
Oh,
so there is something you guys could do for me. I didn't know that. So I didn't think that there was anything that they could do. They were like, no, there is stuff that we can do. Make sure that you're not literally bleeding. So that was news to me. I learned a lot about concussions that I did not previously know during this process.
speaking though of health, and
Yeah.
you are studying to be a nutritionist, and how is that all kind of interconnected with your training and your body positivity? I know watching you on Instagram too, you're very open about struggles and bodies and how it all fits together.
Yeah, the nutrition aspect has been interesting and really welcomed. So like getting this certification is it's adding legitimacy to something that's always been like a huge passion of mine. I think a lot of people can relate to this. Food is so powerful, positively and negatively, and especially as it pertains to body image and that whole can of worms. So it's like when I have a healthy relationship with food, it feels like so many aspects of my life can flourish. And when I've had a negative relationship with food, it's like everything suffers. So it's not all about food, but if the food aspect is not managed well, everything else can struggle.
Yeah.
So I've questioned what I want to do with my life, especially, I'm 28 and I'm trying to figure out maybe at least something that could be confused for a long-term career, at least for this next chapter. And I realized that what matters to me the most is working with people. I love the idea of working with people one-on-one. And I was kind of lamenting to my boyfriend earlier this summer. I was like, I just wish someone would grab me by the shoulders and be like, do this, go down this path. I wish someone would make a decision for me because I feel like I could do anything and be happy as long as I'm like helping people feel better. And he's okay. Well, to me, that feels like nutrition. He's like, all you want to do is talk about food with people. You're so passionate. Like when you got your relationship with food more in line, that's when everything clicked into place with you. That's when you started to be happier. That's when your Hashimoto started to kind of heal itself. You love food, you love cooking. It just feels like such a kind of like an obvious thing to me. And I was like, well, this is what I've been hoping for. I just wanted someone to tell me, do this thing. So I looked through a bunch of different options and I decided that although like the slightly more like esteemed path would be a registered dietitian, I don't really have an interest in working in like a hospital or in a medical setting, so I don't need to be an RD. So I decided to go down the nutrition route, which still allows me to do the kind of work that I want to do. And I found like a really reputable coaching company that is like they're not the calories in, calories out people that that like I'm sure we've all encountered. They like really believe in food just as a super duper holistic. They say it's about food, but it's not only about food. So I'm really like jazzed on this and I just started the program, but it makes me really happy that I might be able to help other people improve their relationship with food in the way that I've been able to improve my own relationship with food.
It's so fun to hear you talk about this. Like you literally light up when you're talking about this, which is just a delight to see. And I think you'll be excellent at that work. Having known you over the past couple of years and had one-on-one conversations with you, I can attest that Ellen is really good at one-on-one conversations.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't take the like potential lightly because I have worked with a lot of like nutritionists and dietitians that don't understand like the level of responsibility that you have. Like food is it's so fragile and it means so much to people and it can have such a big impact on people's lives. And so I've had a lot of people I've worked with that have reinforced my like disordered eating habits. So I don't take this role lightly, but I really look forward to being able to help people maybe, yeah, improve their relationship with food and not like further those unfortunate habits.
Do you
I like
anticipate? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ellen.
I was just gonna say, I like that you called it fragile because that's how I think a lot of us who grew up in the last 30-ish
Yeah.
years feel. Like we've probably done some work to fix it, but we can tip really quickly back into old habits in the
Yes.
name of so many things, quote unquote health, quote unquote seasonality, whatever it may be. So I like that that's kind of the word that you're using and the care that you're taking with people as you work with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to ask in this same vein, do you anticipate bringing nutrition into the cycling world?
I mean, like maybe not exclusively, but like I probably like my main motivator is the ability to work with other athletes because like it really can make or break your career and or just like your enjoyment too. Like I don't know if you guys have ever tried to do like an endurance ride fasted. But it's, oh, I'm not having fun anymore. Actually, Marley, I feel like I remember you had a post about, I might be making this up. You were like, how do you know when you're bonking?
Yeah.
And it's you kind of know even if you don't always know because it's like all of a sudden something that's not really that hard becomes really hard or really unfun.
Yes,
It
I
usually
get
means that you've
sad.
yeah. I get angry. I like lash out and yeah, Aiden rides with Mott's gummies for me because he's okay, let's back it down a little bit. The
Like,
intensity just ramped up, like
Yeah.
emotional intensity.
like
Yeah.
anger personified at that
Yes.
point.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. That's so accurate.
And then you can gaslight yourself so much about it, but it's literally just, I just needed a snack. So yeah, it literally is, it can be the difference between enjoying a ride and not enjoying a ride. So
Yeah. Or even
like
enjoying
they
the
talk,
sport. Yeah.
yes, I mean, it's not everything, but it can also be everything. So I would love the opportunity to work with athletes, especially in the sport of cycling, because there is so much misinformation out there, like you were saying, Ellen, where I think anyone who grew up in the last 30 years with People magazine and, like Beachbody and whatever, but also people who grew up in the sport where it's like thinner is better. The only way that you can be a successful cyclist is to be skinny and all these incredibly triggering and harmful
Yeah.
misconceptions. So I'm hoping to be able to just in a small way, maybe undo some of that with
Yeah.
the
And
people I work with.
I think that's starting to be a recognized trend. I remember I
Yes.
saw a post during the Olympics, even comparing like the gymnasts from the 90s who are
Oh my
real
God.
thin only
Hmm.
compared to Simone Biles, who is
Hmm.
muscle and tone and all of
Hmm.
these things. And just, like I remember hearing something about like gymnasts don't get their periods because
Yeah.
they're so slim and they're so everything. And now I saw some post from Simone about, women only feel good 1 week a month because our cycles are terrible. And so
Yeah.
it's just the narrative has changed, the understanding has changed so much. But like you said, I think there's still a lot of work to be done within certain industries.
Yes. Yes, it's both. As an aside, I just watched Simone Biles'
Yeah.
Netflix docuseries, and she has from the outside, her food just looked so normal. I
Her
would have
food.
thought, yeah, her food, it's like her husband, who's an NFL player, he like cooks some breakfast. It's just like kind of like it just looks like a normal morning in an American household, which was like refreshing and surprising because I could have seen it going either way, where it was like, I only eat like from, like this like super hyper organic, this, that, or the other thing, or, I don't eat it all, but she's just, I don't know, like eating eggs and bacon with her husband and having mimosas like on a random morning. Like it was like really interesting to see how
I
she
thought I
ate, and it
couldn't love
was
her more.
super refreshing. This Netflix series was so inspiring. It was so powerful. I would highly recommend it.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. I just finished one, so I'm looking for a new show. So this is perfect.
Yes. It was really good. She's even more amazing, I think, off the mat than she is in her sport. She's just so cool.
I agree.
I follow her on Threads and
Oh
not to
yeah.
get totally off topic, but she's also very real on Threads. I
She is
remember,
very cool.
yeah, right after the Olympics, she posted something about going out and tequila. And then the
Mhm.
next morning she posted, I'm never drinking again. And I was like, this is the most relatable Olympian in the world.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it also helps me feel like my hangovers are the same as Simone Biles. I'm at the
Right.
same level at that point as
Yeah.
Simone Biles if I get a hangover the next day, right?
Yeah.
Right? That has nothing to do with the fact that it feels like twice her age and twice her size. And
Anyway, so Ellen, back to cycling at the pro level.
I thought
Mhm.
you were going to talk to me. This is really
Oh gosh, should I? Yeah.
Nope, you're fine. But I was
Okay.
Yeah,
like,
just roll
what?
with it.
What did you need to talk to me about?
Yeah, no, pro cycling, Ellen. It's super demanding. I mean, between the training schedule and the new managing the nutrition and cycling just takes time to train for, along with any other sport. How are you balancing training and racing and nutrition and running a farm or taking part in a farm? How do you find balance in your life?
I am trying my best to manage everything, but it's so hard. Especially I have ADHD. I'm kind of a mess. Not kind of, I'm like properly a mess in so many ways. So really the best way for me to get my riding done, this is not going to work for everyone, but I have to wake up in the morning and do it. Because if I don't, usually it's just like the whole day can get away from me. So it's if riding is my priority. The thing is, if riding's my priority, I know that I'm going to make time to sit at my computer, but it doesn't always go the other way around. If I sit down at my computer and I start work for one of the 8 part-time jobs that I do, like part-time jobs and side hustles and passion projects and volunteer work and whatever, I may not stand up until the end of the day. So it's like I have to get the ride done because it's so much harder to pull away from. But one, mad respect to the people who work mega full-time jobs and still make time to train, the people who have families, who have all of those considerations. I did not appreciate the amount of time that I had when I had it, when I was just racing full time and I was like I was making like a good salary to race my bike. I did not appreciate that level of time and I did not take advantage of it enough. I swear. I'm like, what was I doing?
That is very relatable. Yeah, queen of many side hustles and trying to
Yes.
find time to ride. But that's really admirable that you're able to, that you have the discipline to get up in the morning and ride your bike. I got into a good streak there for 2 weeks where I
hmm
did it and then it went
hmm
away. So props to you. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't do it every day, but yesterday, like the last couple days, I've been really busy, so it was like a necessity. It's much easier in the summer, like when the sun is already up by the time I'm up, so it's like it feels way easier. It doesn't hurt that my boyfriend goes to bed early and gets up early, so I'm not trying to extricate myself from bed or anything. He's sleep in, that would be harder, but because he's already up and left the house, I think it makes it a lot easier actually.
And at what point do you start moving your workouts indoors to the trainer, or are you like outdoors as much as possible?
I'm an outdoors as much as possible person. For me, riding the trainer like sucks the life out of me. So I really play it by ear. There are some periods in the winter where it's like mentally refreshing not to have to get dressed to go out all the time. And I like am watching a series or something that I look forward to. But yeah, I really prefer to ride outside as much as possible. I have the benefit of having gear that makes it doable. But yeah, I think the trainer has some benefits for people, even though it's not as fun. Because you don't have to worry about getting your bike dirty or, getting dressed and doing all that. You can kind of maximize. I only have 45 minutes, so I'm going to spend it getting a little bit of an endorphin rush.
I'm going to spend all 40 of it on the bike and not
Yes.
20 of
40
it
of it getting
layering
ready.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
To go outside in the cold. Cool. That makes sense to me. I'm not going to do it, but it makes sense.
Yeah, right. Right. And it's also, if you don't want to ride the trainer, literally no one in the world would blame you. I think triathletes have really found their rhythm on the trainer, but other than that, I don't think that there's anyone who would be like, oh my God, you don't like riding the trainer? That's so weird. Oh, you don't like eating raw vegetables? Ew.
Quick plug right here. All Bodies on Bikes will be starting back up our Zwift rides. So if you do want to ride the
Ooh.
trainer with other folks, we will get those going. So join the All Bodies on Bikes club on Zwift and you'll be notified of upcoming rides. Sorry to interrupt with that little plug, but Ellen, we would love for you to join us on a ride at some point.
Yeah. How do you guys like, I think on Zwift you like there's like a pace or do you like
Kind of.
how do you guys do the
So,
rides?
yeah, we always ride for 60 minutes and
Mm-hmm.
we try and choose a route that's not too hard. So it's not like
Yeah.
climbing the entire time, although we might vary it up a little bit, but we use the rubber band feature. So that
Oh,
way
nice.
folks can
Okay.
go at whatever pace they want to. So if they're doing a workout, they can continue doing that. If they just like to cruise along, which is usually what I do most of the time.
Yeah.
And then we have a Discord where we all chat and people will share funny videos and it just makes the time on the trainer go by so much quicker.
Oh, it really does. Okay, I love that. I need the rubber band feature because I've never done a Zwift ride that I haven't gotten dropped from. So this might be my chance. I'm in.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. We get that feedback all the time
Oh, I
of
love that.
people were getting dropped from Zwift rides and like,
hmm
what the heck? We play in a sport where you're even getting dropped in a virtual world. Like, that's not fun.
Literally, even in my fake reality, I can't stay on the. I was like adjusting my weight and stuff too, because like the rides were so hard that I was like, well, if I say that I'm like 54 pounds or whatever I might be able to hang just to be able to ride with my friends. And I couldn't. I just am not like a super powerful rider, and
Yeah.
I'm not good at sustained power. And I was dying 1,000 deaths. So I was like, the only way to modify the intensity felt like just by saying that that I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I weigh the same as a second grader or whatever.
Yeah.
It
I did
wasn't,
the
it
same
didn't, it
thing.
wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Lying
Yeah.
about your weight.
Yeah.
Right. Here we are.
Yeah, but just to even get to 2 watts per kilo or 4 watts
Yeah.
per kilo, like I had to put my weight at 105 pounds. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
So
So some
relatable again.
feedback for the Zwift community developers to
Yeah.
cut it out and
The
do
rubber
better.
band feature seems really nice. I'm very into that.
It's really
What,
cool. Yeah.
can you quickly explain the rubber band feature? Because I do not Zwift.
Yes. So basically,
Good for
if
you.
you're, so for those folks that don't know, Zwift is an online training video game, basically, where you are riding your bike in real life. So you're on your trainer and you're following your little avatar through these virtual worlds. And it can be the islands or it can be like these futuristic worlds. Zwift is actually quite fun. And you like get points that you can then trade in for gear and new wheels and kit
Nice.
and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. And so there's group rides on Zwift. You can ride alone if you want to, but just like the real world, there are group rides, and they're often paced by your watts per kilogram. So how much you tell the system you weigh. And in theory, that keeps people of the same pace together. But the problem is there's just people go really fast on Zwift. And so you'll get dropped from these group rides. And so the rubber band feature does some sort of magical coding. I don't really know. Maybe Ellen, you can explain it better than I can,
I don't
but
know.
where it just keeps the group together regardless of what pace you're riding. So as long as
So,
you continue to pedal, you'll stay with the peloton. Um,
Like, why would they not just do it like an auto setting? Just tell us that we're riding together. It's a virtual world, y'all.
yeah, I mean, I get it for the races because there are a
mhm.
lot of legitimate
Sure.
races and there's like actual money on the line now.
Yeah, there is.
It's it's wild. And
And
they have
so
to
for
like,
those races, you have to weigh in. There's like a way that they
Oh,
verify your weight, because like basically watts per kilo is like the true equalizer. Because if I'm like sprinting against one of the kids that we train against who's in like 8th grade, he's like a little string bean. Like if
yeah,
we're sprinting against each other on a flat road, like I'm gonna win because I'm putting out just more
sure.
pure watts. The watts per kilo, it adjusts how hard you're pushing on the pedals for how much you weigh. But the thing is, on Zwift, if you're not doing like a verified
Yeah,
ride, then probably everyone's saying that they're lighter than they are. So they can make it a little bit easier. So it's like Marley and I trying to adjust our weights to make it a little easier on us.
right.
Doesn't actually matter because everyone's doing it. So it hasn't actually helped us at all.
Suddenly we have weigh-ins of negative amounts.
Right.
People just have wings. It's
Yeah, yeah,
fine. My God, funny. Well, we are coming up at the end of just the amount of time that we have with you, Ellen, for it's still really weird to say my own name
yeah.
for this podcast, but we're curious, just like kind of what does the future of racing look like for you? What are you excited about in the next couple of, 6 to 12 months? And kind of what would you want the world to know?
Ooh, this season, I'm really just excited to like kind of be a student again and hopefully like kind of improve on the result that I got this past weekend, do a lot more training and invest in that process in the nerdiest way possible. And I'm already just looking forward to next season where I will have had, over a year of training under my belt and have, a season of racing and whatnot. But in between, there's also a lot of races that I'm looking forward to, some cross country stuff and a little more gravity again, stuff like that. So I'm just looking forward to getting back on the bike and I don't know, spending time with friends, and all have started my nutrition practice and all of that. So I don't know. The next year, I have a lot of optimism about the next year, but partially in a way is like a lot of it's staying. Hopefully, a lot of things are staying the same. And then I have a couple of things to look forward to as well.
Fun.
awesome. And for folks who are listening, where can they follow along with your adventures?
I am on most social media platforms as Ellen Likes Bikes. I have a website, ellennoble.com, and that's the best place to message me. There's like a contact form and it just gets sent straight to my email. So there's no risk of it getting buried in Instagram, which is a common problem. And also, you can support my podcast, which is This One's For You. I would love it if you listened and send me a note about it. If you like the podcast or if you have feedback, I love talking to people. I know it might shock you guys, but I love talking to people. So I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I meant to mention the reason I found you on Instagram is because I was trying to change my Instagram handle to Ellen Likes Bikes. And I was like, dang, she's already here and she's very well established.
Oh my God, that's really funny, actually. Sorry about that, but also that's kind of funny.
You're not sorry.
Guess
I
you
don't
just you need to think of something even better. I have also toyed with changing it, and if I ever do, I'll let you know. But at
Okay,
this
good.
point, it's what am I
It's
gonna
you
do?
at this point.
Rebrand?
No,
I don't know.
no,
Yeah,
don't
you
do
can't
it.
rebrand at this point. You're Ellen
Yeah.
Likes Bikes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
So
I can't wait to be like a grown adult with an Instagram handle that says Ellen likes bikes. But I'm also like, you know what? Instagram might just like, disappear off the face of the earth at one point, so then it won't
mhm.
matter. And
Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
so refreshing.
I agree. I do know one person, her name's Laurel Bristow on Instagram. She wound up being like a millennial epidemiologist in the middle of COVID and her account blew up. But her
Yes.
actual account name was King Gutter Baby. And she did finally decide because she was getting interviews from CNN and the White House and everything. She's like, okay, fine. I will be an adult with an
Yes.
adult Instagram handle. And I felt like it's a very real millennial issue.
It is. I mean, like when you think about like our AOL names and stuff like that that we had, don't make me say those out loud. Don't make me say my email before the one I have out now, the one I have now out loud. Like it's humiliating. We were just making up the most outlandish stuff.
Good, because they were
Yeah.
available, because we
Yeah.
were hilarious.
Yeah,
That's
we were so clever.
The number of screen names I have that have 182 in there, because I was obsessed with Blink 182.
Oh my
So like
God.
every single screen name had 182 as part of it.
Oh
that's
my God.
awesome. I love that so much.
That's really funny.
And I will share a link with you. A friend just sent me over a bunch of Disney songs remade into by emo bands. By Disney, remade by emo bands. It's wonderful.
I
So
love like the Taylor Swift emo kind of crossover too. Her songs are very good, done by like emo folks. It's amazing.
we will have two playlists, at least earbuds,
Yes.
coming up right after the break.
Well,
Awesome. Well,
Ellen,
yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for joining. Ellen, thanks for being a great co-host as always. And we wish you best of luck in all of your races and trainings and all the things you've got going on. It's been a delight chatting with you.
Thank you guys so much. Marley, great to see you again. Ellen, great to meet you and chat with you. It's
You
been
too,
a
Ellen.
novel pleasure. And Marley, hopefully the next time I see you, the roles are reversed.
Yes, let's make it happen.
Can't wait.